never seen. That's highly unlikely, and you're all at different levels of how well you know AutoCAD. I'll be really happy if you leave with a handful of tips that you can take with you. How many of you are in the last class? It's doing the thing again. It just happened there. That was a big class, wasn't it? She's smart, isn't she? So I'm going to start, and then I'm going to cross my fingers that the microphone will play nicely. Okay, so for the first set of tips, all have to do with the user interface. What's funny? You're killing me. All right. What did it say? Was it bad? Yeah. But like reformatting the hard drive or something?
What on her? Okay.
Where do I want to start? No, it's right here. All right, so how many of you are on AutoCAD 2000? You're going to make me stop? They coming good? Good. Send you a bill later.
Sorry about that.
It's okay.
Have a good one.
That's a tip gone, though. Now we're down to 59 tips. How many of you are on release 13, 2013? Oh, that's pretty good. Good. How many of you are on 2012? Okay. Okay. Most of you are on 12 or 13. How many of you are on 11? 2011? Okay. 2010? He's proud. Yes. 2009? No? You're afraid to raise your hands now, aren't you? Sorry about that. 2008? Which was actually a good release. All right, I know you're not going to raise your hands now. Okay, most of you are on 12 or 13. That's good. So inside of AutoCAD 2013, I'm sure that you noticed if you left the command line where they wanted you to leave it in the middle of the screen, not really in the middle of the screen, but you notice that it's a floating. So it's a floating command line, and it can also be transparent if you want it to be, right? This is for those of you who are really greedy with your screen real estate, because you can move the command prompts, like in the corner of the screen or something like that, and then you can actually come in and you can control the transparency. So that you'll notice you can make it almost completely transparent. Make sure you know where it is. A great way to torture your coworkers, it should be noted, but that's beside the point. But you'll see that as I move my cursor over the command line, it kind of shows up more, and I move it away, it becomes more transparent. You could dock it in a corner, get a little more screen real estate, for those of you who are really into that. I love the way the new command line works. I'm just going to go on the polyline command. I'm sure many of you have noticed this. The command history shows up above the command line, right? I love this. You saw this a little. Joanne was doing this as well. I love that now you can actually select the options with your mouse. You don't have to pick up and hit a character or anything like that. You can just select the option with your mouse. I can do a close. And then as I am finished with the command, you'll see that eventually that the history disappears into the abyss, right? Okay, now, for those of you who believe that the command line belongs in the lower left-hand corner as God intended it to be, you, of course, can still execute the prompts. Wrong one. You can actually still execute the prompts by selecting them from the command line, so that's fine. It's completely up to you, whatever makes you happy. And oh, you know what? I totally do not have my act together here, because I don't want to have to go back and forth to the command, to the PowerPoint. Yay, so I don't have to. Of course, that's not all of them. Where's the rest of them? Now we're down to 57. There we go. All right, so how many of you use the ribbon? Okay, how many of you are ribbon rebels and put it back to AutoCAD Classic? You know who you are. Oh my gosh! What's going on down here in South Africa? Oh, for goodness sakes. All right, well, when the command line first came out inside of AutoCAD 2009, I wasn't really too keen on it. Didn't get it, didn't understand it, but because of my job, I had to pretend that I loved it. 2010, I liked it a little more. But I'm sure that you've noticed in the last few releases, 11, 12, 13, that the ribbon is actually getting a lot smarter, right? It's context sensitive. So as you select objects in the screen, it automatically changes. I get that, I like that. So for those of you who tried it in the early releases and banished it and set it to AutoCAD Classic, you might just want to try it again. All right, but there you go. There's my, it's not going to go away anytime soon. You might want to give it another try. So one of the things that people don't like about the ribbon is that it takes up a lot of room, right? It takes up a fair amount of room. At the very end of the ribbon, you'll actually see that there are options that allow you to control the size of the ribbon. For example, maybe I want to minimize them to panel buttons, for those of you who like pictures. If you move your cursor over the panels, you'll see that it pulls it down. Or perhaps you would like to read words instead, no pictures, giving you even more screen real estate. As you move your cursor over the ribbon, you'll actually see it pulls the panels down. And last but not least, for those of you who are absolutely brilliant and know your ribbon inside and out, you'll find that you can minimize it even further. You have to actually select on a tab to get it to pull out. And as soon as you move your cursor away, it will roll back up. So those are just options for you. You'll also find the same thing happens actually if you double click on the current tab. It'll minimize it. So you know, a little trivia for you. One of the reasons we don't like the ribbon or didn't like the ribbon was because we had to relearn where everything was, right? You already knew where everything was, and then we don't want you to get bored. So we like to move things all around, so you have to learn where everything is all over again. For those of you who have had problems accessing specific commands, like where the heck is the command? If you go into the application menu, which is the A in the upper left-hand corner, if you hit it once and not twice, because if you hit it twice, bad things happen, right? You'll find yourself outside of AutoCAD. This big white area at the very top allows you to type in any command, and AutoCAD will actually show you where that command is in the ribbon. At this point, you can just hit an enter to execute it or select it from the list, but nevertheless, it will educate you on where it is in the ribbon until you can familiarize yourself with that, all right? All right, let's see what else. So sometimes when I'm working on the ribbon, I like to pull a panel off. When you're going to be using a panel for a while, like maybe I'm going to do a bunch of dimensioning, if I come over here to the Annotate tab, you can actually grab these guys and pull them off. Have you done that? Have you discovered that by accident? And then you can leave it on there just like our old toolbars, right? And then you can go from tab to tab to tab. It's not a problem. And then when you're finished dimensioning, there's a nice little tool in the upper right-hand corner that allows you to return it to the panels to the ribbon. It puts it back where it got it from. And you probably also know that you can arrange these guys any way that you want. You can move them around. They're pretty friendly. You can get rid of them if you don't like them. It's completely up to you. So those are called sticky panels when you move them off of the screen. Do you know what Control 0 does? This is for you guys who are crazy about screen real estate. Clears everything, right? Control 0. Oh. Maybe a client comes into the office, they don't need to see everything on the screen, you just want them to focus on the drawing. You can do Control 0. That's how you bring it back as well. And then also, these layout tabs, they take up actually a quarter of an inch of your screen or whatever. Oh, Americans, everything's in feet and inches, sorry. Takes up a bit of room. You don't actually have to keep those right there. You can move them down to the status bar by doing a right click. And I wish it didn't say hide layout and model tabs. I wish it said move layout and model tabs, because you'll actually see here is my model space and here is my paper space, and I can get to them very easily. So that works best if you have one layout tab. If you have multiple layout tabs, not so much. But for those of you who want to move it down, get a little extra screen real estate, you may have, yes, everything okay? Oh, just in case things go badly? Okay, thank you. Later I'll sell the access if any of you guys want internet access, all right? I got to earn a living. So, I don't know, have you used quick view layouts and quick view drawings? So quick view layouts would solve the problem. That's that little option right there. There's only one layout in here, so it's not a big deal. But it would allow you to see all of the layouts in a drawing. I'm a big fan of quick view drawing. That was updated with the last release of AutoCAD. So it's much easier to work with than it was before. It actually has a great big green rectangle around the one that's current, so it's not a game anymore, so you know which one is current. And you can actually go to any of these drawing files and you can see the layouts from the drawing files, and you can easily go to another layout in an open drawing file. In fact, if I come up here to one of the layouts, you'll see that you have the option to print as well. So you can actually, using quick view drawing, print a layout and not even have to go to it, which is kind of nice. Big fan of quick view drawing. And then just total trivia. This is in the completely worthless information department. If you hold down the control key and use the wheel mouse, you can actually make them bigger or smaller. In case you don't like the size of them, you can change that. It's the control and the wheel and the mouse. Pretty, I don't know, maybe you would use that, maybe not. All right. I talked about that, AutoCAD 2013 added a welcome screen. About every 5 releases, Autodesk assumes that you want something to get in the way of the command line when you enter AutoCAD, right? So not to disappoint, we did it again. Now, I'll actually say, well, there's this beautiful option, and the resolution of the projector is such that you're not going to be able to see. In the lower left-hand corner, there's a little check mark, so you can say, never show this to me again. So it doesn't get in the way, right? You've probably already fixed that. I actually do like the way the recent files work. I think it works a little better than it does in the application menu because it's nice and smooth. That's like the only thing I really use in here. But there are some videos. You have access to the App Store, which I'll take a look at in a second. You have access to Autodesk 360. And I know how much your manager loves it when you go into Facebook and Twitter. So this is a great way to get there. So I am a fan of the App Store. And if you're in 2012 or 2013, there's this big X in the upper right-hand corner of the screen, not to be confused with that X, which does something completely different. This guy right here, which will take you, yes, continue. Oh, what is up? Oh. So it like says I already used it up. I don't know if I'm going to show you. Let me see if I have a screen. I'm not going to waste your time doing that. Let's see if I have a, I don't have a screen. Do I? Oh, I have a screen. Okay. So if you click on the X and you have internet access, you will get to go to the App Store. The App Store is pretty cool because it has all these apps that people have posted. Some of them are done by Autodesk. Some of them may have even been contributed by you. A lot of the apps are free, which is good. No surprise, the most popular apps are free. But there are some apps on there that are very valuable. Do any of you use SketchUp? You SketchUp users? Well, there's this awesome app for SketchUp, SketchUp Import, which allows you to very easily bring in SketchUp files inside of AutoCAD. Free. It actually was written by Autodesk, so I can pretty well assure you that it's a good app to download. And there's actually, if you take a look at the slide here, there's an app called the Featured Apps app. I can't make this stuff up. The Featured Apps app. And so if you go to the App Store and you look up Featured Apps, you will see this app that allows you to, inside of AutoCAD, it will show you all the trending applications. Because I don't have internet access, it won't show up, but I'll show you where it would show up. So it's kind of nice. You can go over there once in a while when you get tired of doing whatever it is you're doing inside of AutoCAD, and it'll show you all the apps that are really popular at any given time. If you want one, you click on it, and it's very easy to load these in. Automatically puts them right inside of AutoCAD. Really cool. My favorite one, which is not up here, is Hangman, which is a complete waste of time, but oh, so much fun. So that was put up there by Autodesk. Somebody at Autodesk got paid to do that, which I love. Let me go back over to, doesn't matter which one. So if I go to plugins, you will see that I downloaded the SketchUp one. And you'll see of course I downloaded Hangman, of course. But any other apps that you have added in will actually show up there on that tab on the ribbon. And this won't work because I lost my internet access. Again, I'm not going to sit here and type all the characters in. But in this situation, you would actually see all the apps showing up that are trending. And you could kind of go, oh, that's one I've been looking for a long time. Stop it. I quit. All right, now we're down to like 35 tips in 60 minutes. Did that show up before? Is that what you saw before? Because usually you don't, look at all the joins I have open so I can go to them quickly. Isn't that sad? That never happens to you, does it? And you guys always take a lot of time to fill this out, don't you? I'll put in South Africa in front of lots of people, and of course it crashed. I don't have an internet connection, otherwise I can assure you I'd be getting a phone call. Oh my gosh, what happened? I couldn't even tell you what happened. Oh, yes it was. All right, so now talk amongst yourselves again. We're going to see how many things could possibly go wrong. Is that it because I'm here in South Africa? Don't say that. Oh. All right, fine. Get my sheet set manager. It won't be too bad, but unfortunately this will slow me down. I do have, let me go to, talk amongst yourselves again. I had it all nice and set up, but now it's not set up. I'll open that one really fast. I'll open this one. We'll just grab a couple of them and then I'll get going again. Stop it. All right. Can't live without my sheet sets. Joanne used views, I used sheet sets. All right, back over. So let's see. We're going to talk about the quick access toolbar. I talked about everything in there except for the property preview, so we'll do that. Now I am a big fan of the quick access toolbar. And if you've ever heard me do don't mess with me. If you've ever heard me do a presentation, I almost always talk about the quick access toolbar. One of the reasons that I like it, let me just get this all set up. Okay, one of the reasons I like it, because the quick access toolbar is always there. And the quick access toolbar is this guy in the upper left-hand corner of the screen, in case you don't know what I'm talking about. He's always there, doesn't matter what tab I go to. So I like to customize the quick access toolbar to have those commands that I use all the time. Now, I would also say that the quick access toolbar isn't really very long. You don't have a whole lot of space to customize. So I would get rid of anything that I don't use. And you'll see up there I have workspaces, right? Up here? All right, but I also have workspaces right down here. In fact, if I wanted to look the same, I can say display workspace label. And now they look exactly the same. Now, do I need workspaces in both locations? Are you changing workspaces that much that you need to have it here and here? I don't think so. So the first thing I would do is I would remove this from the quick access toolbar. You do that by doing a right click, remove from the quick access toolbar. That guy's big, he's gone, and now I have more room. And then the first thing that I would put on there is the layer drop-down list, because one of the things I don't like about the ribbon is that I always have to go to the Home tab to change my current layer, right? And I'm referring to, of course, this list right here. So easy. Right click, add to the quick access toolbar. I don't think it gets any easier than that, right? Easy, easy, easy. And now I can quickly change my current layer. You can do that for, let's see if I go to annotate, you can also do that for dimension styles. If you're switching dimension styles a lot, you can also do it for table styles. You cannot do it for text styles. For some reason, if I come up here and I do a right click, there is no option to add it to the quick access toolbar. I don't know what's up with that, so you can't do that. But the other ones you can. All right, so what else can I do with the quick access toolbar? Well, if you click on the arrow, you'll see that they have decided for you what your favorite commands are. That's always nice. So maybe you want to put workspaces up there, back up on there, which you shouldn't do it because we have it at the bottom of the screen. Match properties. I mean, I don't know how they picked this. Batch plot, really? Render? Come on, I'm not doing that all the time. You want commands you're doing all the time. So another way to go about adding your favorite commands to the quick access toolbar is by selecting on the More Commands option. That will take you into an abridged version of the CUI called the Quick CUI. And you can select any command that you want, whatever makes you happy. We'll just do erase. And then it's simply a matter of dragging and dropping. And now that I've said that, I want you to see that it doesn't work because for some reason there is a bug in 2013 so that if it is maximized, you can't drag and drop it. I don't know. I can drag and drop it now. But it wouldn't let me do it before. I just want you to know I just recently figured out how to fix that. I mean, like all year I've been faking it. And finally I was able to fix it. So I'm very happy about that. All right, so once again, I can't, no, I can almost get to it. There we go. Because of the resolution, things aren't going to look the way they look on your computer, I'm sure. All right, so what else about the quick access toolbar? I think that's pretty much it. Is there anything else? I don't think so. I love the quick access toolbar. You should customize it, and you should set it up to work the way you want to work. Oh, there's one more. One more. Let's come back over here. For those of you who really get into it, you can move it. So that you have more room, you can drop it down below the ribbon. And I actually know people who have that whole thing customized with their favorite commands. That's fine. Whatever you want to do is fine. You won't burn as many calories as you would if it was at the top of the screen, because you don't have to go as far. That's something you should think about. Plus, it does take up more of your screen real estate. So whatever is more important to you. Let's put it back. Oh, and properties. I was going to show you properties. Let me show you that. This was changed inside of AutoCAD 2013. Don't you even think about crashing on me again. I'll be very cranky. That one. There we go. So if I select this surface, for example, by default, when you select anything, it doesn't have to be 3D, it will show you the layer that the object is on, correct? So you'll see that it shows me that it's on this particular layer. One nice thing about 2013, hopefully you notice that as you move through the layer list, it will show you what changes would happen to the object if you moved it to a different layer. So it gives you a property preview instead of selecting it and then realizing it wasn't quite what you had in mind. It's probably more obvious if I go to colors. So as I move my cursor over, you'll see that it does give you a preview. That's something in 2013. Okay? Tool palettes. How many of you use tool palettes? I like them because they're easy, they're low stress. You don't have to have a PhD in customization. They're pretty simple to work with. They're great if you're working with other people's drawings. You just need to quickly add a new hatch or add a new block or something. They're easy just to grab objects from the existing drawing, drop them on the palette, and then re-enter them inside the drawing. So let's take a look at some things that have to do with tool palettes. Come back to this highly sophisticated drawing that you will see a lot of today because it has a bit of everything in it. So I want to create a tool palette, a tab on my tool palette of all of the blocks in a particular drawing. I have one drawing that's got all my library symbols in it, and I want to quickly put it onto the tool palette. Now I believe the easiest way of doing that is with Design Center. How many of you are using Design Center? Well, it's kind of lost its luster, hasn't it? Used to be hip and trendy. Not so much anymore. It's a very powerful command. I still love Design Center. I did a Control-2 to get there. Control-2 gets you to Design Center, but you can get to it many ways. So here I am inside of Design Center, and I'm going to go to just an AutoCAD sample drawing. I'm going to click on blocks, and you'll see, of course, these are all the blocks in my drawing. If I want to take all those blocks and put them on a tool palette, by far the easiest way is to do a right click and say, Create Tool Palette. Once again, doesn't get much easier than that. And at that point in time, you'll see that all those blocks will be placed on the tool palette. Now, I do recommend before you do this in any drawing, you do a purge, because it will also grab the anonymous blocks and drag and drop them on there. You know how much we love that. So purge first and then do this. So that was very simple. That was very fast. Of course, you can also take existing objects, like maybe I want to add more cross-hatching. So to my drawing, I can't remember what layer it was on or what the scale factor was. You can also very quickly grab any hatch pattern, use the right mouse button and drag and drop it. And then it's very easy for me to add some more cross-hatching, right? It's pretty simple. I'm too fast for it. There we go. Pretty simple. Why does it say honey? Because it's sweet. It's nice. Calling me a name. Honey. Why? Because that's the name of the crosshatch pattern, right? You can do a right click and you can go to properties and change all kinds of things. If you take a look at properties, you'll actually see, look at this, it knew the scale factor was 0.1, it knew the spacing, it knew the layer that that was supposed to land on. It was so easy for me to duplicate that hatch, right? It's pretty smart. I don't like the name. If you're only going to do this for yourself or a couple of hatch patterns, you don't need to bother with this. But if you decide you want to share, you don't want to leave it with the word honey on there. So in this case, it's actually being used for shrubbery, which shrubbery for you Monty Python fans. You can also change the image. The image looks pretty bad. You can pick any JPEG or bitmap or whatever. Right click, specify image. This is just if you want it to be pretty, because you're going to share. You want to impress others in the office. And then I'm going to go to the desktop, and of course, conveniently, I happen to have a JPEG set up, so I can put it on there very quickly, just so it looks a little bit nicer. So let's say there's a block in this drawing I want to use in some other drawings. Probably one of the easiest way to do that is to put it on a tool palette. So I can go ahead and grab this car block and drag and drop that over to my palette. And then it's very simple in any drawing to bring it in. In this drawing, it's not too exciting. I could just do a copy, but imagine, if you will, I'm in a completely different drawing. You'll notice that it doesn't allow me to rotate it. I could do R for rotate, but if you want to, you can make it more flexible by doing a right click, going into properties, and you will see that there is an option. Right now it has a rotation angle of 90, but you'll see that there is an option for prompt for rotation. If I turn that to yes, absolutely. Now it will no longer stick to 90 degrees, and now as I bring the car in, I can actually rotate it any angle that I want. There you go. So that's blocks and hatch patterns. Just a couple of examples of what you can do with tool palettes. Let me zoom out just a little bit. Okay, I'm going to put a hot tub from my drawing. Remember, I got the hot tub from the landscape drawing that I brought in. And is it just me, or? It's just me. Okay, let's move on to the next one. It's not even coming in. That's because it's being mean to me today. But let me show you what I was going to show you anyway. If you go into properties of any block, you will see that there is an auxiliary scale factor. That allows you to say, I want you to scale this block relative to the dim scale or to the plot scale, which would allow you to create a block in a 1x1 space that would automatically scale regardless of the drawing. It would come in the correct size. So, but not today. And not for me. All right, let's move on. So that is tool palettes very, very, very quickly. Object selection tips. So hopefully you know that if you do Control A, it selects all of the objects in your drawing, right? Unless they're frozen. All the objects in your drawing. It's the same thing as typing in ALL, but I'm very lazy. So Control A is faster. Have you ever had a viewport inside of another viewport? And you're like, can't get there, and I'm like moving one of the viewports so you can get in there? So actually, Control R will cycle you through all of your viewports until you get to the one that you want. I'm sure that that will come in handy for some of you. It used to be Control V, but then Control V became paste, and for about 2 releases, we couldn't do this anymore because they didn't know what to do. So they finally gave it a new assignment of Control R. And the rest of these, I'm going to take a look at. So I need to go to, I'm going to have to just go into any drawing and go get it. Oh, stop it. Do you guys talk to your AutoCAD? Or is it just me? Does it make you feel better knowing that it crashes for me too? Does it? Yeah, I'm not exempt, believe me. I've actually noticed there's a correlation between the number of the people in the audience and the chances of it crashing. Just so you know. Absolutely true. All right, so I'm gonna get rid of the tool palette, and I'll show you another way to do what you just saw me do. I'm in a situation where I want to add another object just like this one. I don't know, is it a line, is it a polyline? I don't know what layer it's on. I don't know what the line is. I got a line type. I don't know what the line type scale is or the line type, and I'm very lazy. You should factor that in. Nice feature was added a couple of releases ago. Allows you to select any object and do a right click, and then it's very easy for you to do add selected. How many of you know this, add selected? Because it's awesome. It will put you right back into the same command that was used to create the object. Oh, I guess it was a polyline. And then you can come right on in, and you can add another object, just like the one that you had on screen, without even having to think about it. Now, I want you to realize that when I started this, I was on layer 0. When I executed this command, it put me back on the layer of the object that I selected. But when I am finished with the command, it will put me back on layer 0. I love that. None of this going back and forth. So it's very easy to work with. All right? Also handy with dimensions. Ever had to go into a drawing that either you did a long time ago or somebody else did it? You have no clue what the dim scale factor is or what the dimension variables are, and you need to add just one more dimension. Well, you got to figure it all out, right? This is awesome. Same concept. Select a dimension, do a right click, add selected, right? I don't have to know about anything. Then just go in and add your additional dimension, wherever you want it to go, and it will be an exact duplicate of the same properties of the dimension that you already have. This also works with text. Awesome. Don't have to figure out anything with text either, all right? Can you tell I am from California? Like totally? Just wondering. I grew up by Los Angeles. I have that Hollywood accent, which is the proper accent because it's in the movies. So you know. So if you take a look at these dimensions here, you will see that these are rotated dimensions, and my drafting teacher would not be happy with me because the text is not going in the proper angle. In fact, there's rotated dimensions all over my drawing that are wrong. And I mentioned that I'm lazy. So a nice tool allows me to select an object. I can do a right click and say select similar. And AutoCAD will go out and find all the other rotated dimensions on the same layer, and I'll tell you how I know that in just a second. So I picked all of them. I didn't have to do any work at all. And now I can go into Properties, and I can come down here, and I can correct the text rotation angle so that my drafting teacher doesn't get mad at me, and it will fix all of the rotated dimensions. Now if I go into Select Similar, you will actually see there's a settings option. It's kind of important. This will determine how Select Similar works. And you'll see that right now it's set up to grab all of the same type of objects. It says name, I wish it said type, but what name is the object? So in this case it was a rotated dimension and the layer. So it only grabbed the rotated dimensions on the same layer. If I got rid of layer, it would grab all the rotated dimensions regardless of the layer. Does that make sense? Right? Or if I got rid of name, it would just grab all the objects on the same layer. So you can set this up to work the way that you want. That is simply by going into the actual Select Similar command and going into Settings. Right. That comes in handy is Selection Cycling, which you can also get to by doing a Control W. How many of you have used Selection Cycling? Okay, that's pretty good. So I'm going to turn Selection Cycling on, and as I move my cursor anywhere where there is more than one object underneath my pick box, you will get these little blue boxes. That means that there is more than one object underneath the pick box. So if you turn that on, that's an indicator that there's a couple of possibilities, and if you pick, I don't know which one you're going to get, right? That's where selection cycling comes in. So I'm going to come over here, and let's say I want to go into the erase command. My boxes are there, right? I'm going to go ahead and pick, and you'll see that underneath that cursor was a polyline, a block reference, a line, a rotated dimension. I don't know, maybe there's more under there. As I move my cursor through the list, it highlights, it highlights the block, the doors, highlights the line, a rotated dimension. It will highlight the objects until you get to the one that you want. Then you select it, and then you can go on your merry way. So that comes in handy when you have objects that are right on top of each other, I find. For example, like a boundary of a hatch pattern and a hatch pattern, and you're trying to get the boundary and you can't get the boundary, it keeps picking the hatch pattern. Perfect example where this would really come in handy. You do not want to leave it on all the time because it's annoying. But when you need it, it's fabulous. So I kind of turn it on and off whenever I need it. All right, last but not least. We have learned to control the visibility of objects by turning layers on and off, right? If a drawing's crowded, we'll turn off layers so we can work on the pieces that we need to work on. So also came out a couple of releases ago. I'm going to go ahead and just select these objects, and then there's an X ref here. I'm going to pick that too. But you will see that there are plenty of things that are not highlighted, right? Like the dimensions over there. If I do a right click, I have the ability to isolate my highlighted objects. All I have to do is select Isolate Objects, and everything else goes away. It doesn't delete, it just goes away. So they're all invisible right now. So you can go the other way. In this case, I said, I want you to keep the objects that I have highlighted. But you could also say that you want to delete, well not delete, make the objects, hide the objects that are selected. So let me just select a couple. I told you it's annoying, right? Sometimes it drives me crazy. Go away. I want this one, and I want that one, and I don't know, I'll just pick something else randomly. Thank you. Do a right click, and I'm going to say hide objects. So in this situation, the objects I selected were hidden. Now, key piece of information, if you move down to the lower right-hand corner of the screen, this big red light bulb means to you that you have hidden objects. So if you can't find objects on the screen and you've turned all your layers on and you're confused, take a look down here and just see maybe somehow you or whoever isolated some objects or hid some objects. Now, it's easy to fix this to bring everything back. Right-click, you can say End Object Isolation, or you can also come down to the light bulb. You can select on that and say End Object Isolation. Okay. By default, if you leave the drawing and you come back in, the objects will appear again by default. So if you were, I don't know, you were goofing off and you had a bunch of hidden objects, when you leave and come back, everything comes back. That's by default. There is actually a system variable called object isolation mode that can override that, which I just think would be a great way to torture your coworkers, but that's up to you. You just kind of go in and you just hide all the objects. I mean, they're still there, so you're not really causing any damage. Well, unless they have a bad heart or something, it could be bad. But and then you leave the drawing, they come in and they're turning all the layers on, but nothing's working. Anyway, that's just me. So I think we covered all of that. All right. Associative arrays. So inside of AutoCAD 2012, we added in the new smarter associative arrays that were smart in that you could edit them after the fact. So if you did an array that was a 4x6 array and later on you wanted it to be 3x8, it was easy to make that change. Or you could change the spacing between the rows, the spacing between the columns, and it worked for rectangular arrays, for polar arrays, and then there was a really nice new path array that was put in that allows you to array along an open object like a spline, for example. So, but let's see what happened in 2013, because I really do like the way they updated this. All right, so and I'm going to do this in 3D, but let me just tell you it doesn't make any difference. 2D, 3D, it works exactly the same. How many of you do 3D in AutoCAD? Oh, that's pretty good. All right, so I am going to turn off my selection cycling to start with. I'm going to go into the rectangular array command, and I'm going to select these two objects to do my array. As soon as I hit an enter after I've selected objects, it will do a 4x3 array. Chances of you wanting a 4x3 array, pretty slim, right? But this is just so you can kind of get an idea of how the array is looking now. For those of you who've never used the array option, or for you ribbon rebels who got rid of the ribbon, it's very easy to physically change it, right? I want 5x4, you know, whatever the situation is. You can change the distance between the rows, the distance between the columns. But inside of AutoCAD 2013, there are these awesome grips. There's a little blue grip there. Do you see that? Oh, too much caffeine, do you think? Wondering. There's one there. There's one there, and I'm going to show you what they all do, okay? Goodness. One too many lattes. All right, so if I select this grip here, you'll actually see that it allows me to physically, very easily, and visually change the number of columns, right? If I come up here and grab this one, you will see that it allows me to change the number of rows. If you are an overachiever, you can come to the upper right-hand corner and you can kill two birds with one stone. You can change the number of rows and columns at the same time. And I showed you two other grips as well. There are grips that are right next to the original object. This allows me to control the spacing between the columns. This allows you to control the spacing between the rows. Pretty cool. Now, it kind of feels like this array is just one big glob, right? If I select it, everything highlights. But what if you want to edit some of the individual objects? Well, you can do that by holding down your control key. You can select any of these individually. And then, I don't know, I could delete them, I could rotate them, I could scale them, I could do whatever I wanted to by holding down the control key. So even though it is kind of a big block thing of an array, you can still edit the individual objects. And if things go terribly wrong and you made a mistake and you want it to go back the way it was, you can select the array and then say reset the array, and everything will go back to the way that it was. Okay? So those are arrays inside of AutoCAD 2013. All right, so I'll go through these. I have to bounce around now because I'm not going to get through everything. Have you ever been in a situation where you have a drawing with a certain set of layers, and then for some reason they change the standards, and now you need to change the names of the layers, or worse, the names of the layers and the properties of the layers? So did you go in the layer dialog box and change them? Because that's a total drag. There is a cool command that came out. I'm pointing at the screen like you can see my PowerPoint, my invisible PowerPoint. A cool command called lay trans. How many of you have tried lay trans? Came out a long time ago. Okay, just a few of you. Good. So that should be good. I like this command. Top secret command, lay trans. Allows you to translate layers from one set of layer names and properties to another. So you'll see on the left there, these are the layers in the drawing that I'm currently in. So the trick is you have to have a drawing that has the correct layers and properties. So, and then what you're going to do is you're going to load the drawing that has the correct layers and properties. I'll just pick some random drawing. Is that the same darn drawing? Don't do that. Just with a different name. We'll go to that one. And you will see that we have different layer names, right? Now this part's very boring, but it's still better than going into the layer dialog box. I'm going to say, oh, this layer belongs with this layer, and I'll say map. It will show you what's going to happen in the box, and you have to go through all of the layers that need to be changed, and one by one, you have to map them. So this is quite tedious. If it turns out you're going to have to do this again and again and again, though, you have the option of doing a save, and it will save the mapping. It will save it as a file that has an extension of DWS, and then the next time you go into this command, you're in another drawing now, you need to update this drawing to have all the right layers. The next time you go into the drawing file, you're not going to load a drawing file that's accurate, you're going to load that DWS file. You have to drop this down. It's not obvious at first. You're going to load that DWS file that had the saved mappings, and then like that, they're all mapped instantly. Now that's good. If you're going to do it more than once, very, very, very good way to save time. If you're only doing it once, I still think it's better than manually changing them. There's a bunch of different ways you could do it, right? So that's lay trans. Give that a try. I'm sure many of you have discovered lay walk, right? It's a fun command. It has little feet on there. Any of you remember when the explode command used to be a bomb? Anybody? There's a little icon of a bomb, and then it was no longer politically correct. So it became a box that's, no, I don't make this stuff up. All right, so layer walk. Pretty popular command. I'm sure many of you have run across it. Allows you to very easily go through all of the layers so you can see what's on there. You can hold the control key down to pick multiple layers or shift, or you can kind of do a reverse. You can come in and you can select objects, and it will show you which layers are involved. So that's another option. It's lay walk. And I think I'm just going to talk about the others in the interest of time. I'm sure many of you hopefully have discovered lay del. Awesome command. You have that one layer that you can't delete no matter what. You go in the layer dialog box. You're absolutely certain there's nothing on that layer. You try to purge it or delete it, and it refuses to go away. Is it slowing you down? Is it hurting you? No, absolutely not. But that is not the point. The point is that you want that layer to go away, to die a terrible death, right? So lay del doesn't really care what's on the layer, and it doesn't care what layer it is. There's only 2 layers it will not delete. Those 2 layers are 0 and death points. Very, very good. So lay del, like I said, even if there are objects on that drawing, it is happy to remove it from your life. One of the reasons you cannot delete a layer, a very popular reason, is because it is referenced inside of a block. If it's referenced inside of the block, you can't get rid of the layer unless you physically change the block definition. Lay del will do that for you. It will actually open up the block definition, rip the layer out, close that block definition back up, and then delete the layer. And that is power, right? Okay, just remember that where there is power, there is danger, so be careful, okay? So, careful what you ask for. And then copy to layer basically allows you to kill 2 birds with 1 stone in that oftentimes you make a copy of an object and then we change it to a different layer, right? This just basically does both at the same time, at the same command. First, it allows you to execute the copy command, and then it asks you what layer you'd like it to land on, okay? So that's copy to layer. Most of these were express tools. We love our express tools. All right, I am going to jump back over to AutoCAD to run through these very quickly. Hold on. So, do I have blend on this one? Let's just go over and get it. Nope, it should be here. Please hold. Here it is. Turn that grid off. I always love it how, like every other release, we decide that you need to have the grid on by default. So, how many of you discovered the blend command? Blend? Couple? Top secret command. We kind of hid it from you. It's a very cool command. It's hiding underneath fillet in the menu. Blend curves. I can select 2 endpoints of a curve and it will actually just kind of fill it in. Nice. This is actually arcs, part of a circle. It's pretty cool. And then I love this. What do you think you'd get if you picked these two endpoints? If it was Piedit, you'd get some bizarro tangent thing. But you'll see that it does a pretty nice job. So that's blend. And there's some variables that allow you to control it, but that's the basics of it. Now, if you take a look at this drawing, you'll see that, not very, oh my gosh, look at all of these individual segments. I know that you've never run into that ever. And I want to fix that. I want them all to go together. And I would think to use the join command, which in the past has been a kind of cranky command, picky command, because you always had to pick the source object first, and then you had to pick the other objects. Well, the join command is much more easygoing than it used to be, because now I can say, man, I just want you to join everything. We're going to have a party. Everything's highlighted. I'm going to hit an extra enter and let it do its stuff. And now if you take a look at that mess I had before, you can see it's one great big huge polyline. Love that. Look at these guys here. You saw me put a blend on that. Over here. Nice. Join. Awesome. All right, let's see. Let me go over to this drawing. This is another drawing with a bunch of ridiculous stuff in it, just so I can show stuff to you. So I want to take these lines here, and I want to extend it, I'm just going to say out to about there. So what would you do? Draw a line, right? Very good. Go into the extend command. Draw a construction line. Well, I'm going to show you how to do it without a construction line. I'm going to go into the very old change command. It's an old, wrinkly, dusty command. And I'm going to come in here and select any of the objects that I want to extend. And then all I have to do is literally just pick a point in the distance, and it will extend them all. It also works for trimming. I'm going to turn my O-snaps off so it doesn't try to go to the midpoint. Same exact concept, change command. I'll do a P for previous. And then I just pick wherever I want to trim those objects back by. I don't have to create a construction line or a cutting edge. Cool, huh? That's kind of cool. While I'm here, and because of time, I'm going to jump around a little bit. These are all individual lines of text, right? I would like it to be mText. Hopefully you have discovered the Express tool, the awesome Express tool, text to mText, that allows you to take any single line text, missed one, and it will convert it into paragraph text. So now it's easy to make modifications. Let's see what else while I'm here. I'm totally jumping around now. No rhyme or reason. So I don't have to go back and forth between drawings because they're not open now. How many of you have used the QDim command? Quick dimension. Love that command. It's like nobody knows it exists. I'm going to go back to annotate. It happens to be this tool right here that has the little lightning rod on it. I'm going to go ahead and select that. I would like to dimension these guys. Woo, which way do you want to go? Awesome. I want to do some radial dimensioning. Notice I got some lines. Can't do radial and lines, it doesn't care. I'm going to say R. Just kind of give it an idea how long you want the leader lines to be. QDim. Try it, it's fabulous. So most of us, if I said I want you just to do a linear dimension, turn my O-snaps back on. This is a polyline, incidentally, it's a rectangle, it's a polyline. If I wanted to dimension one side, most of you would do this. I want a dimension that goes between here and here, right? If you learned AutoCAD a long time ago, back when dinosaurs roamed the earth, the actual default is select object. About half of you know this and about half of you don't. The easiest way to dimension an object is not by grabbing the endpoints. Do you think AutoCAD knows where the endpoints are? Absolutely. Just hit an enter. Select any object and it will find the endpoints for you and do the work. So much easier, much easier. Now that doesn't work if I wanted to dimension between here and here, that wouldn't work because there isn't one object there, but nevertheless. All right, let's see. Have you ever had this happen? Where, somebody changed the scale factor, they didn't lock the viewport, and things are all messed up now, right? I have my dimensions actually in paper space, and I'm not saying that's the way you should do it. We could have a whole argument and fight if I said which is the right way. Half of you would go one way and half of you would go the other. But in this situation, the dimensions are in paper space, my object was in model space, and then accidentally I went in and I zoomed, and now I'm all messed up, right? So there is a cool tool called Align Space that is going to fix this for me. Pick the first alignment point in model space, that's right here. Second alignment point, I'm just going to pick references, and I'm going to grab the dimension points, And you'll see that it will realign it for me. That's align space. Okay, same idea. My boss comes in and says, why did you dimension in paper space? Those dimensions should be in model space. Well, we have what? Change space. Before I do that, let's just zoom in and look at these imperial units. Once again, I'm sorry, loser Americans. Base 12, really? Who does that? Anyway, I want you to see the values on there. Stay with me. Change space. I'm sure many of you have discovered this one. It allows me to go in and grab any objects, and it will push them through to the other space. But it's more than that, because it will actually take a look at what those dimension scale values are and make sure it maintains them. And if I do an F2 to take a look, you'll actually see it tells me what the scale factor was. Incidentally, I had to scale your objects by a factor of 10 so that I could get the right values. It's kind of nice, change space. I'll have to get this one and the other one. How about overkill? How many of you know overkill? Used to be an express tool, right? It grew up and, oh, wrong one, 12. Sorry. This is why I have them all open, so you don't have to sit and wait. So a lot of these commands used to be express tools, and they grew up and became real-life AutoCAD commands, which is good for the LT users because then they can access them. This one has a cute name, overkill. Now, turns out that I have a lot of duplicates in this drawing. I have a lot of lines on top of other lines. Maybe I have some circles on top of other circles, or an arc on top of a circle, or maybe I have overlapping lines. I want it cleaned up. I want it all cleaned up. I want you to fix all that. Maybe I have too many vertices in a polyline that I don't need them. It's a straight polyline, but there's a bunch of vertices. So overkill, we'll be more than happy to fix that for you. If you go to the Home tab, you will see that overkill has a little broom on it. That's how you can remember it, because it's going to clean up your drawing. We have a whole group of people at Autodesk whose whole goal in life is to come up with the icons. Wouldn't you like that job? How fun would that be? Is that hard work? I don't think so. But anyway, so overkill, select objects. Oh, I'm just going to do everything. I'd like you to check everything out. And then you'll see it gives you some parameters. Because of the time constraints, I'm not going to go into these, but you'll see things like, do you want it to get rid of the objects that partially overlap and just make one that goes all the way across? Do you want it to ignore properties? If I have a circle on one layer right on top of a circle on another layer, do you want it to delete one of them? You need to make these decisions. Plus there's a fuzz factor. So, right, if you leave it at 0 or even 0.000001 like that, the objects have to be just basically right on top of each other before they will be considered a duplicate. But you can control the fuzz factor. You can give it a little more room, so it will clean up a little bit more. It's up to you. All right, now maybe I should go look at the PowerPoint. Let's see, what am I missing? I'll come back to that one. It's not very exciting. I can actually tell you that one because I won't have time to show you everything. In the copy command inside of AutoCAD 2012 and 13, did you notice they added an array option? So you can now do an array on the fly. Not like the associative array that I showed you earlier, but it basically, you're going to pick the distance and the number of objects, and it will let you pick where you want them to go. So that's kind of cool. Let's see. Any of you use wipeouts? Yeah, so new system variable inside of AutoCAD 2013, because we don't have enough system variables, is a wipeout frame. If you set it to 2, the frame will display, and we need it to display in order to edit it, right? But it will not plot. Just so you should have noticed that. I'm going to show you a couple of these tray notify. Some of you don't like the bubbles that show up, your anti-bubble, lower right-hand corner. If you don't like the bubbles, you can set tray notify to 0, and you will no longer be plagued with bubbles. And I'm going to show you the others. All right, so this is a line. If I go into P-Edit and I select this line, it comes back and it says, the very familiar, the object selected is not a polyline. Do you want to turn it into one? And you're like, well, yeah, I'm in the P-Edit command, right? I'm sure you've all thought it. I hate that question. I know what I'm doing. So we hit an enter and we go on with our lives. Well, there is a system variable called pEditAccept. If you set it to 1, it will never ever ask you that question again. It saves you an extra return in your life. So now if I go into pEdit and I select the same object, no questions, it turns it into a polyline and moves on. Okay, that's for you. I will warn you, we're all programmed to hit an enter, which at this point will now kick you out of the command. So you need to take that into consideration. But let me just jump over to my other, not very exciting drawing, but very effective. I'm going to go into the text command. And you'll see that mine says AutoCAD. Does yours say AutoCAD? What does yours say? It probably says ABC. That's the default sample text is ABC. So you can control the sample text string. This is worthless but fun. mtjig string. You can set it, I think, like up to 10 characters. So let's see, maybe I want AU extension JHB. Now if I go into text, have fun, name it after your dog, your favorite sports team. You can write mean things about your manager. I don't know. It's up to you. Completely up to you. What was the other one on there? Oh. So system variables can be a little overwhelming because there's so many. I don't think do any of you know every single system variable? I mean, come on. I don't know. There is a great, to me, the way that you should control and set your system variables is with this express tool, which apparently has no name. Look, you'll see there's no name there. And I can't even pronounce what it's called. It's sys, let me just kind of show you the tooltip. sysvdlg, first, I believe sysvar dialog. I believe that's where that came from. It's impossible to say that. Sysvid, I can't say that. So I just know it's the tool that apparently doesn't have any information. So I'm going to select that. And in here, you will find all of the system variables inside of AutoCAD. Now, one of the nice things about that, let me just go ahead and find, let's see which one. Like if I go down to, and incidentally, I could come up here and I could type in the name, but it somehow it broke on me, so I can't do that anymore. Used to be able to do it. There's that mtjig string. So if you take a look, it has my new value, shows me the initial value is ABC. It shows me it's saved in the registry. What does that mean? That means every drawing I go into now, it's going to say AUXJHB. It's not drawing specific. Anything that's saved in the drawing only affects my current drawing. And I like the fact that if I had a variety of settings, in this area down here, it would tell me what the various options were. 1 is equal to this, 2 is equal to this, and so on and so forth. But one of the things I like the most about this particular command that's impossible to pronounce is this option down here for save all. Because this allows you to take all of your system variables, and we all like to work differently. I like to have my system variables set one way. You probably like them to have them set a different way. You can save them all out to a file, just in case things go terribly bad. So you can save them out to a file, and then, I don't know what happens, something crashes, you have to reload AutoCAD. I'm sure that's never happened to you. And you want to get everything back the way it was before. Options saves some of your system variables, but not all of them. This saves all of them. Then when you come back in here, can't see it. Next time, if you need to bring them back, you hit read, and it will bring them back in. So I like that. Comes in handy. Autodesk Seek. How many of you have been to Autodesk Seek? Oh, I don't have an internet connection. Do I have a picture? I do. Let me show you how to get to it. I'll show you. So if I come to anywhere, if I go to Insert, at the very end there's an option that says Search Autodesk Seek. And if I had an internet connection, which we know I don't, you could type in anything. You could type in chair or whatever, and it would take me out to Autodesk Seek, which is the land of free content. Free blocks. You'll find Revit files on here. You'll find AutoCAD files on here. You might even find some SketchUp files on here, Inventor files up here, and these are free. So basically, in this situation, I did a search on plumbing or something like that, and it grabbed everything that had to do with plumbing. That's kind of a broad search, but you could type in pipe or whatever. And all this is free. You can download it. You can actually drag and drop it right into your drawing file. So free stuff. We like free stuff. How much time do I have? Anybody? Okay, I'll look. I have no time. Awesome. So let's go to, let's see, what do I want to show you? All right, I'm going to show you those two because those are awesome. Two more and then I'll be quiet. Then I'll show you where you can go get this presentation and you can watch it again. Or you can download the complete handouts and talk about all of them since I didn't get to go through everything. All right. So we talked about overkill. And the next two have to do when you run into certain situations that working with people who don't follow the rules. And actually Joanne talked a little bit about this earlier. Let me go this drawing. So somebody gives you a drawing where apparently this is as simple as you could get, am I right? They did not get that whole O-snap deal. Ever worked with somebody that, yeah, it's close enough. Anybody? All right. But as you zoom in, I'm going to actually go to a view. I'm going to zoom in on one of the corners. It turns out, hey, it looked okay from far away, but when you zoom in, you realize that they really didn't know what they were doing. Now I have a whole drawing like this. That is not going to be any fun to fix, right? That is no fun at all. So I'm going to show you a very sneaky way to fix overhangs and gaps, which I'll say I came across just by accident. But it works, and we don't care, right? As long as it works. It actually has to do with parametrics. I'm a big fan of parametrics, but you don't even have to know anything about parametrics to use this. The trick is auto-constrain. I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to put a window around this whole thing using a command called auto-constrain. Let me go back to my view. Fixed. How did that happen? Well, you have some settings that you need to have set up to get it to work just right. By default, you should be okay, unless somebody changed them on you. The trick here is coincident. If you come in here and you say, I'm going to use this auto-constrain, I'm going to select objects, and anywhere possible, I'd like you to make sure they're coincident. That means that they meet at the same endpoint, right? Then you have a fuzz factor down here. See, this distance is 0.05. So as long as that distance is less than 0.05, it will fix it. Does that make sense? As long as the overhang is less than 0.05, it will also fix it. So you get to choose the fuzz factor. I mean, I don't know how big your drawing is. 0.05 could be horrible, could be perfect. So you have to control that yourself. But that's the trick, okay? It can do other things for you too. If maybe their lines were off just a little bit, they're not quite straight, you can go in and you can say perpendicular. You can fix tangents. You can fix all kinds of things with auto-constraint in a matter of seconds. All right, and then last but not least, this will be the last one that I show you. I need to go back into, it's already open. This guy. And I'm going to go over here to the model. There we go. All right, so I think Joanne hinted at this, a way of doing this in the last class. I'm going to show you a slightly different way. Somebody gives me a drawing. I like to believe that the dimensions are correct, that this text is accurate, and that nobody cheated. Right, they didn't go in and maybe it was 5.0001, and they didn't just go, I can fix that and set it to 5, or whatever the situation is. I'm sure you've all run into drawings where that happens, correct? Yeah? Have you ever had to fix it yourself? Because that's really irritating, isn't it? Okay, so cool express tool called dim reassoce. And it's actually up here under reset text, which isn't a very obvious way to explain it. But it's a command called dim reassoce. And I'm going to say, I want all of the objects in my drawing. I need you to check all of the dimensions. There's no way of looking at a drawing and being able to tell whether a dimension is accurate or not, right? That's kind of a bummer. I have no idea. This command will highlight the offenders. Can you see that they're, enter. There is an offender here, highlighted. And there's also one over here highlighted, right? Hit and enter, and it will fix them. And then you can go smack the guy that did the drawing. Okay, dim reassoce. All right, so I guess in the interest of time. So where can you, I know you probably want to watch this all over again. You can watch it where things don't crash on me. If you go to autodeskuniversity.com, there are actually hundreds of classes up there that you can watch free of charge. And there are some awesome classes up there. And for years, I've been teaching this 90 AutoCAD tips in 90 minutes. Each year, the tips change slightly. There's always some redundancy. But you can go up there and you can either watch a very close replication of what you just saw, or you can just download the handout. That's probably just as easy, where I go into more details about the commands than I would on a PowerPoint. The big Autodesk University in Las Vegas, have any of you been there? Yay! So it's a pretty exciting event. It's very big. It's about 8,500 people or so. It is taking place like in a week, basically. And I'll be teaching the 90 minutes AutoCAD tips in 90 minutes. I would actually recommend to you, you wait till after that, because there'll be a lot more similarity, and along with 30 extra tips. So free of charge to watch, download the handouts, etc. So on that note, I do have a blog. If you like to read blogs, a lot of us don't like to read anymore. But if you'd like to read blogs, you can go up there and get some extra tips. And last but not least, my Twitter handle is Lynn_Allen, not Lynn Allen. I've already received some tweets today. It's kind of fun. And if you have no life like me and you want to follow me on Twitter, I welcome you to do that. So, and my email address. All right, so I'm going to stop because I'm over my time. But thank you again. If you have any questions, I'm not going to open it up for questions. Just come down and talk to me. Okay? All right, or up, or whatever. All right, thank you very, very much.